All right, welcome back to another Momentum Teams Fax demo. Today we're going to focus on the SharePoint aspects of Teams Fax. It's very important to note that the data that is represented in this app is simply rendered up from your organization's SharePoint or OneDrive locations that are provisioned for your fax accounts. That's important for compliance, HIPAA, PII, other compliance methods. What that does is it guarantees that the data is in your environment, stored securely under your security controls and any kind of tooling that you put around it for compliance, data loss prevention, or any other types of scanning tools that you're using to monitor that data. The other important thing is that Momentum does not have access outside of the application to that data at that point. We do not have any humans that can access your fax accounts to get to that data in your SharePoint. That data is secured by your single sign-on and MFA process. So if the user is not provisioned, that data is not accessible. It would be no different than me trying to log into your organization's SharePoint site without being a provisioned user in your Entra ID with permission to that site. So when we look at, say, a received fax and I open it, I'm simply going out and rendering it up from the SharePoint site. So if I click this open button, what it's going to do is it's going to open I got to pull it over here. Let's see. It's going to open that in a SharePoint browser, right? So it's just, again, case in point of it being in the SharePoint site, and it's just being rendered up into the application, but that data lives in the SharePoint folder. So if we come, and the same is true for sent, if we come over to shared, this used to be called files, I think, in Microsoft, but this is the documents folder. In here, we create a Momentum app faxes folder, and this is where all of the data for that fax account lives. So we have things like the templates. If there's a template defined for that account or multiple templates, it would live in this folder. All my sent files are in there. Again, from a Microsoft perspective, you can see users that are the ones who sent the fax from a Microsoft perspective. So on this one, let's go newer to older. You can see that some of these are automated, right? We'll get to an automation demo here in a bit, but you can see when a human actually manually sends a fax, we can see who it is from a audit control perspective and a compliance perspective. That's the same data that gets recorded in the CDR records for the app. We reviewed that in a previous demo. Same for your received. All of your received files are going to be in here. The file retention, we get asked this often. We don't have anything to do with the file retention because it's your SharePoint site. So it's very important to note that depending on what your requirements are, if you're financial and you require 10 years of retention, you just need to ensure that your SharePoint policies are accounting for that, or you've got some data archive process set up in the Microsoft environment to archive that data to meet your compliance requirements. Our application does not dictate anything inside of your Microsoft environment. Call detail records. This is where we archive the CDRs for, again, more around compliance reporting on if there needs to be audits going back. So even though there's the export button in the application, the call detail records actually become archived in here. And then as we write to new files, I think it's every 30 days, you would then see additional files start to show up in here. This is also useful for organizations that want to consolidate reporting across their organization. Say you have 15 fax lines. Maybe you want to attach all of the CDRs to a PowerBI report that then gives you visibility into how your faxes are performing and who's sending what, where it's going, and where faxes are coming from. So that is the SharePoint in a nutshell. Again, how a Microsoft admin administers permissions and access to these SharePoint folders is dictated in the admin center of SharePoint, and again is controlled solely in the Microsoft environment. It has nothing to do with the Teams Fax application. Our goal is to put as much IT admin, app admin, and security admin back into the Microsoft environment so that you can manage and maintain your compliance from one single pane of glass. So that is the SharePoint aspect of this, and we will move on to a demo of how you can automate faxes.